Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Warriors of Chaos and Bretonnia. It's going to be myself with Festus facing off against Inuris, who is going to be rocking Rapunzel and Felix here on the Gates of Echarin, and it is going to be a very heavy-duty grind here between Objectives 1 and 2, with a little bit of kind of side play here on Objective 3. Now, as far as my build goes, going to be trying something a little bit different. I do really like to use the double Exalted Heroes of Nurgle and try and win that character fight, but today, wanted to use one of the more underused monsters, which is the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. In theory, this thing's pretty damn good against Bretonnia, right? Anti-large, armor piercing, going to be able to take down a lot of the big expensive knights. On top of that, this bad boy does have 25% missile resist and decent armor values, so that's going to make them a respectable sponge for Festus's healing, right? So we put him with the healing elixirs, heal them with their high HP and the percentage-based healing. Maybe they're going to be good. We'll have to find out. Couple Chaos Warriors with great weapons. In this matchup, you might be wondering why you're not seeing halberds, right? Well, Bretonnia's a cav faction, bring halberds against them. No, in my experience, great weapons are better because great weapons will trade much better into the Bretonnian infantry, like the foot squires and just the various chaff pieces. Whereas the halberds do down trade really, really badly into the foot squires. The Chaos Warrior great weapon will have more of an even trade, and they can also fight the cavalry pieces pretty well in my experience too. Now, the one halberd unit you do want to bring is a Severed Claw. These guys are in a whole different ballpark of their own. They hit incredibly hard. It's super tough to kill, especially with Festus, and they can grind down the Bretonnian cavalry and pretty much anything you throw at them. We are going to be using the Leech Lord. He's going to be using his elixirs, and as far as spells go, this is kind of a popular playstyle from Bretonnia these days, using her Ponce with her banners. So she does have the Flare de Lis banner, which is pretty nuts, right? Like 10 melee defense and 8 melee attack on a foot squire unit. That's going to put them into a whole nother range of infantry quality. On top of that, she does have the Blessing of the Lady, but more importantly, it's just the banner. So you get her with Felix. Oftentimes you will see Gotrek in this playstyle, and I think that's a good choice. No Gotrek here, but yeah, this is very, very strong, especially for these like foot squire blobs on a map that's going to be very grindy here. This is very much a grind map with a little bit of skirmish play on the side, but overall, yeah, it's a knockdown, drag-out fight. And that's it for my build. So my opponent is going to be rocking foot squires with double Grail Relique, so that's a big stat line increase, right? The Grail Relique is going to be increasing the melee attack as well as the leadership and ITP, which is actually very, very relevant against me. I have 2 terror-causing monsters, right? So that's huge. We got some archers in the back, pox arrows, and some fire arrows, which is a nice combination of poison applying across my entire army and fire arrows to hurt trolls a little bit, you know, mitigate healing, what's not to love. A couple men-at-arms with polearms on the side. These, I think, are one of my favorite infantry choices for Bretonnia. I find that them, as well as the Empire halberds, the Empire State Trooper halberds, they trade really, really well these days. I don't know what it is, but yeah, they certainly are, you know, eating their cereal here. So the battle is soon to be on. We'll do a little bit of fast forwarding while the armies do posture. On the other side, my opponent does have the mobility advantage, so the Wardens of Montfort and the Mounted Yeoman archers are able to firmly secure that side. And now I'm going to be grabbing my side, but I'm very much a slow sausage here. So I'm going to let my opponent have the objectives out of the gates. You know, I don't really have the width or mobility to really contest the battlefield. I'm just going to build up, and actually my first call-in is going to be, I'm never going to play Chaos. I mean, it happens a couple times, but I always have to find a way to bring a Chosen unit. Not in every matchup. There are some matchups it's like a death sentence. But against Bretonnia, Chosen are actually really good. And the best one is hands down the Chosen of Nurgle. They're so tough to kill. Their HP pool is insane. They can grind through armor. You put them up against like Grail Knights in a straight fight, and they'll trade pretty damn well, right? You can see their stat line is great, 43, 51, 50 weapon strength with great AP values. They also have a good charge bonus for being like a slow, great weapon unit, which isn't, you know, bad at all. So now we're going to be moving up to engage. We do have a lot of foot squires here, though, so I'm going to be taking a bit of a beating. And here, my 2 Dragon Ogre Shaggoths are going to be trampling over some filthy peasants. So you can see they just trample those guys. They got bigger fish to fry. And I figured let's go for a freebie right here. Let's bonk this Grail Relique and see if we can get a little bit of free damage on it. And from there, we will be pulling back after we just kind of dive into the archers and do a little bit more damage here. Now, Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, like I said, do have good missile resist as well as decent armor value, so it didn't feel too bad. But now Rapunzel and company have engaged. Felix as well, and the foot squires here are going to have a really nice stat line when they move in. 39 and 34 is crazy. I mean, they would probably outtrade greatswords with that stat line for sure. But Festus will be dropping the big stinky, excuse me, something got caught there, of Nurgle. You see Festus blessing me as well as the enemies in the game here. But doing a big overcasted ranted visitations on Felix, and that's really the thing. If you're playing against Dwarf Felix boxes, you always want to try and focus your efforts on taking out Felix here. My opponent with pretty good focus fire, though, getting these archers to tee off into the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, who is benefiting quite a bit from that percentage-based healing. But from here, we do run out of range. Going to be juking a little bit in the back. My opponent trying to backcap me, though, so very, very sneaky stuff. He does have the Spearmen, and they're trying to slip around my defenses. The Chosen are going to be intercepting them. Meanwhile, in the front line, the Severed Claw holding on pretty well, and the Chaos Warriors are taking casualties. Rapunzel and Felix are both good AP anti-infantry fighters in tandem with the very buffed up foot squires. it's actually kind of a dodgy situation. Now on this side, just kind of slow grinding it, sending up Marauders to take this objective. I know they're going to take a beating from these mounted yeomen, but it's going to take like all of their ammo to kill these guys. And just playing the long, slow game, which is usually how Nurgle plays anyways. Another unit of Chaos Warriors is going to be on its way over. So my opponent here does call in Royal Hippogriff Knights. You know, there's some danger for them on the ground for sure. The Dragon Ogre Shaggoths are really, you know, hard-hitting anti-large, and I'm pretty sure they got buffed a couple patches ago. They hit a lot harder than they used to, so they can go fisticuffs with those big scaries. Now, as far as the frontline fighting goes, the Chaos Warriors are being swarmed by the Bretonnians, who are just sauced up with the Blessing of the Lady. That Fleur-de-Lis banner absolutely nuts, and the stat line of the Foot Squire is certainly doing better than I had been expecting as we get into the game. I mean, I knew this was a good strategy. I'd faced it against like Tim the Wilder and a couple other people who did it to me a couple months ago, and he showed me how good it was, and yeah, you're seeing it a lot these days. So Chosen of Nurgle going to be creeping up, and they finally arrive to the fight. Ponderous, but when they do get there, they come with intent. And Festus the Leech Lord, he is going to be blessing his boys. And yeah, I know you got the banner of Fleur-de-Lis, but we have the big Great Weapons of Nurgle, and they're going to be taking these guys to Pound Town. As I do switch to the Harbinger of Pestilence, seeing that there's a big blob of Bretonnians here, I figured that the Mortis Engine is going to be a little bit more useful since the Chosen haven't really taken much damage yet. And here the Dragon Ogre Shaggoths trying to snipe out Felix. It's been a tough one. You know, he's hiding amongst the halberds, and he does have the leadership buff from the Gervalik. And now my opponent going to be sweeping across with the Royal Hippos. He was picking on some warriors over there, but now is going to be rerouting over here. You can see he's being very cautious with where he lands. He's noticing that I am microing my two Shaggoths and kind of following underneath. But my opponent does have the objective advantage, so just playing a grind like this isn't terrible for him. I'm the one, the burden of aggression is on me. I'm the one who has to break through. But I felt like we had plenty of time. He is at 523 and I'm at 255 right now. And now the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth's going to be moving in once again and trying to bonk some of these bad boys. Looks like the Hippo Knights may be thinking about going after Festus, but the Chosen of Nurgle nearby could also turn on them. But here comes the big damage on the Chosen of Nurgle, which is a little bit unfortunate, but the Hippos do commit to the fight. So there they are, big charges coming in. No Alberic, but they're still getting that stat line buff from the Fleur-de-Lis banner. And you can see my opponent with some nice healing as well does use the Scroll of Shielding and Earthblood. So really, really strong play. This was actually a ladder game. I ran into this gentleman a couple times, and really, really solid player. We're having some great matches. You guys will be seeing those up on the channel here. But the Dragon Ogre Shaggoths start to take the Royal Hippogriff Knights to Pound Town, but the Scroll of Shielding, really, really nice play there. It's going to mitigate some of that damage. Although in that same moment, some of the Hounds do sneak around the side, going to be feasting on the souls of the Bretonnians as they do surge up the hill, getting a nice flank charge on those bad boys. Hippogriff Knights, have they taken any casualties yet? Currently, they are at 11 of 12 models. They have lost one, the Dragon Ogre Shaggoths. Their anti-large is kicking it in, and hey, you know, the sleeper Chosen of Nurgle, they're still very much here. Let's go ahead and find their banner. Yes, they are. 52 Chosen of Nurgle, still have 5,000 HP, 182 kills, and they are just grinding it down and getting the job done. So my opponent trying to screen out the archers using the Royal Hippogriff Knights, and now we got some big scaries called in, the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis. Pretty good anti-infantry unit, not going to be excellent against like elite armored infantry, but for chasing down enemy skirmishers, they honestly do pretty well. Here on the backside, some of my Hounds do get hunted by Knights of the Realm, so those guys are out of the picture. And here, my Chaos Warriors with Great Weapons and Marauders do push my opponent off the objective. So thankfully, it's in time. If I do capture this objective relatively soon, I will be able to win on two objectives. That's kind of what I'm banking on right now, because it's getting a little scary over here. Festus the Leech Lord is on the run, and Felix, as well as Rapunzel, are hot on his tail. Both of them are anti-infantry characters, so that's really bad for Festus. If he gets caught, he's going to have a pretty bad time, and the Big Chungus laps in micro on my part. He does get caught a little bit here. Looks like there's going to be an Earthblood going down from my opponent as the Armored Trolls come in from reserve. So the Armored Troll is going to be bashing into the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis as the Dragon Ogre Shaggoths take this opportunity to escort Felix off the battlefield. So he's shaken and stirred. They're not like excellent at killing infantry, but still not bad. And you know, they can easily defeat a character like Felix. And honestly, a full health Dragon Ogre Shaggoth could probably take on Rapunzel as well. I don't know, that's a little bit of a tougher fight. But Hippogriff Knights coming in. Terror Routes going down to the Armored Trolls. Feels pretty bad. A couple Warhounds rear charging in. It's a very dodgy fight here. And Bretonnia, I believe, calls in Grail Knights. Yeah, if memory serves. I remember seeing them and hearing the hooves in the distance. And the Grail Knights of the Lady are going to be surging over the hill and coming to change up this fight. So very, very scary. I need to hold this back point because now I kind of have a win con on the table, right? I have 430 points. My opponent has 829. I have a Chaos Warrior unit over here. He'd have to send some good quality units to get rid of that. I think he's more focused on playing the lane strategy, and I kind of saw that. All of his call-ins were being allocated to fighting towards Objective 1. So it's like, okay, let's just hold here. Let's try not to break. That's what Nurgle's good at anyways. And let's also put a little bit of pressure on his back point here. Chosen of Nurgle going to be surging up with the remnants of the Severed Claw. And these things don't know the meaning of the word bell. Not crazy value on them, though. About 700 as they do bonk some of those peasants right there. And here, these Chosen of Nurgle, about 900 value. Pretty great considering they were fighting, like, you know, anti-infantry great weapon units. They ended up trading pretty well. So back we go with the Marauder Horsemen, maintaining capture weight here. We do have a big pit fight. Grail Knights have arrived to the fray, and you guys are going to be super hyped for my next call-in. I wanted to make a point to use like all the cool various Chaos anti-large units here. So we do have these SHAGGOTS. SHAGGOTS are benefiting from the healing elixirs. Granted, the Grail Knights and Hippogriff Knights are hitting them pretty damn hard, and I don't really have infantry support here, so a lot of my monsters are getting isolated and lanced down with halberds, but the big bonking of Chaos continues. Throwing Axes, of course, doing quite well. Here we use the Armored Trolls to intercept the Knights of the Realm, but the anti-large bonus is probably going to be enough to saturate through and maybe break the backs of the Chaos Armored Trolls. We're going to have to see, but you notice the points being saved. Something cool is coming. Something, I wouldn't say wicked, but something brutal is coming this way. That's generally the idea. So one Shaggoth does get broken, sitting at 939 HP. The other Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is going to be getting hunted again by the Grail Knights. Rapun's doing good damage, I bet. Let's go and see what her value is. Yeah, about 1,000 value. That's like as much as she costs. She's very, very cheap. And Hippogriff Knights are still very healthy, so I kind of felt like I was on the back foot in this situation. I am down by 2,000 value, but with that healing from Festus, which has been going the entire game, I mean, my opponent's been healing too, I guess. We do almost have a healing capped Hippogriff. I think I've healed a little bit more. I feel like I was like in a close-ish situation at this point. It felt pretty close. Where are the biggins? Oh god, 1,700. I'm sure many of you guys can guess what's going to be coming out here, but the Shaggoth is going to be getting a fleshy abundance. Nurgle's blessings on the undivided champions here as they do bonk back and crush some of these Grail Knights who do benefit from a very, very nice regrowth there. Festus is going to be Benny healing once again. He's going to be running away from old Rapunz, and they're actually not that different in speed, which is pretty funny. You think Festus would be a little bit slower, but hey, you know, I'm not complaining. So here it comes, the Skull Crushers of Khorne. So they're going to be pretty rad in this engagement. They do get a little bit blocked up by the Marauders. A little bit of a traffic jam. Felt bad there. I was like hoping to get a big cinematic charge, but they still do surge through. And their anti-large bonus should be pretty devastating against Grail Knights in a straight-up fight, but I can't catch him. He's got 84 speed, and my little Wookiee Knights here, they have a 62. But even still, they do make contact, and some of the Grail Knights will probably start going down here. One Grail Knight does fall. The big Shaggoths of Chaos are going to be on their way in, and we should be able to bonk down a lot of these Bretonnian Knights. So the cleaving attacks, they're doing some work, but Hippos do get a nice rear charge here. Value is about 400 for the Bulldog Cavalry, but I'm hoping they're going to be able to hold, and there's a nice Earthblood from my opponent once again. But we do start to take over the momentum of the battle, and all the reinforcements he's been trying to call in, they're getting like bottlenecked here by the Chosen. I'm telling you, never leave home without your Chosen. They're so cool. 1,400 value, so they paid for themselves at this point, and like they still have a lot more to give. They got 43 models, 3,000 HP. This Chosen unit is just mince-meeting these guys, and my opponent's reinforcements keep getting caught up. I had an extra Chaos Warrior unit on this objective, and now they're going to be arriving at his home point, so they're going to be heading to Objective 3. But we do start to take over this fight down here pretty heavily. Rapunz is going to be tar-pitted. The Bulldog Cavalry actually did kind of good. Look at the Skull Crushers. 1,800 value Skull Crushers actually dominating the very tired, well, they're not tired, perfect vigor, but the very haggard, truly an apt description here, of the Royal Hippogriff Knights. And now we're going to be moving towards Objective 2. I didn't need to per se, and it could end up being a bit of a mistake, but we're going to be moving on up. And, you know, I feel with Rapunz trapped back here, we're just going to tar pit here with a bunch of trash units and then move up and try and pressure my opponent's home objective. We can keep him from, you know, pressing the other points. On the other side, basically just a Chaos Warrior unit with a Great Weapon hanging out there and living his best life. But here we go. Moving up on the point, we do see some throwing axe damage getting in there, and the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth's going to be bonking that caster, but the Damsel's on foot, so the anti-large bonus of the Shaggoths isn't quite going to be connecting. Great Weapons do arrive, and the Chosen of Nurgle, up to 1,600 value. Absolutely awesome, but more Knights are on the way in. It's going to be Knights Errant as well as Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis, so nothing like terribly devastating. We do send in the Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, who are honestly have been doing super well this game. I would wager that both Shaggoths are over 1,500 value. We'll check at the end of the game. I actually didn't check it after the replay, but yeah, they've been doing really, really good. The Terror Routes haven't been super pertinent because of my opponent's usage of the Grail Reliques. He's done a very good job keeping the Grail Reliques in position. And here the Bulldog Cavalry going to be getting around the side. I wanted to get a flank charge on these Foot Squires as well as these bad boys, so that's going to be the game plan there. Meanwhile, no play on the other side whatsoever. Really, the epicenter of action is going to be right here. So the Bulldogs do move in, going after the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis, able to drive them back a little bit. In the distance, mounted yeoman archers using their superior range, but overall the Marauder Horsemen are in okay shape, and they're good enough fighters in melee. You can use them to tar pit Bretonnian Cavalry, especially the ones that aren't anti-large, like the, you know, the Knights Errant, things like that. Couple Trolls paying the Troll toll back here. Going to be hit by the Halberds. Festus finally makes it over here. Rapunz, you know, I made a bit of a blunder. I had the Chaos Warriors moving up, and I didn't pay attention, and they just kind of got tar-pitted on Rapunz, so that felt a little bit bad, but not the end of the world. And the fight's getting a little bit dodgy over here. You know, I see a lot of spears coming in, halberds moving up as well. My Shaggoths are both very, very low, so perhaps it's a little bit of a dangerous fight for me. The Chosen of Nurgle, just super awesome. 1,800 value. There's, what, 18 of these bad boys left? They fight very, very hard, and only now do they break at the very end of the game. I don't know, I guess we have a little bit of time, but yeah, overall they do break just now, which is awesome. So here are the Bulldog Cavalry ripping apart a Knights Errant unit with the support of the Marauder Horsemen throwing axes. I just turn around and countercharged him and force him into a bit of a trap because the Bulldog Cavalry are very slow. So with proper maneuvering, you know, I'm never going to catch the cavalry. So I had to tarp at them with the Marauder Horsemen. Festus dropping a fat drain back here on the men-at-arms with pole arms. The Mortis Engine of the Gods is kicking in there. Trolls are on the run from the halberds, and the Bretonnian numbers are surging forward. The Grail Elite keeping their leadership really, really firm against my terror-causing units. You know, a lot of factions in a similar situation would have had mass terror routes right there, but the Bretonnians, they stand firm. He does also catch me with some of these bad boys. So at this point, I'm like, all right, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to take my Shaggoths home. I'm going to take my ball home, and we're going to go finish off Rapunzel back here, which is something I should have done before. It was a big mistake. I had 2 Dragon Ogre Shaggoths and Festus. I should have just swarmed her, taken her out. That would have probably broken the Bretonnian leadership, right? And then I could have just pushed up safely, right? It was on them to push me. I didn't need to go up there. But, I mean, it wasn't the worst trade, because the fact that we're even on value and I have way more healing than my opponent means I'm certainly ahead of this game. I have these 2 functional monsters, value 2,700 on that Shaggoth, and this one's at 2,200. And he's about to pay his dues here. Rapunzel is going to get bonked pretty hard. Rapunzel's HP, she's at 1,300. The Dragon Ogre Shaggoth will be charging in just a moment. He's doing some big fancy windups there. And the Bulldog Cavalry, Skullcrusher is honestly not doing badly either. 2,200 value on these. Granted, they've had a ton of really ideal targets. I pretty much knew at this point they weren't going to escape. You know, I was like, let's commit, let them grind as long as they possibly can. My opponent resummons Grail Knights, which was a little bit scary. I do have a lot of great opens on the field, as well as some armored Chaos Trolls who can do some decent damage against them. Throwing axes also do quite good. But if we can get Rapunzel out of here, that's going to feel pretty good. Her melee defense is nuts, though. 67 against 61 with the Shaggoths, so really not bad. Both characters are wounded, so they are going to be taking damage mitigation. So you can see minus 20% for me. Rapunzel is going to be at minus something or other, too. Oh, there she goes. She gets punted across the realm there. And the Bulldog Cavalry finally pay the price of the Grail Knights, but not before they do some really nice work. Now we just need the Helm's Deep. And the thing is, by the time my opponent would be able to get this objective, I probably would just win on one. You know, it's going to be very, very tight, but I think it would take a lot of time to get through all these units. And most of the Bretonnian troopers are very tattered. We have some foot squires. The Grail Knights are being one of the biggest threats. Rapunzel is getting taken out. It looks like she finally does break with 400 HP. And now it is going to be the, I guess, last stand of Nurgle in a way. Not really a last stand as in we're in a troublesome situation, but the last hold here, as we do get our Great Opens in and drop the Harbinger of Pestilence to drain that very cost-effective HP off the Grail Knights. Trolls are hanging in there. Severed Claw has returned. Somehow they have returned. And the Grail Knights are being swarmed back. The Doggo's able to get some nice nipping attacks on their heels. And Marauder's not doing bad. Grail Elite's really giving the Bretonnian army a ton of inflation in terms of their staying power and durability. Rapunzel's getting hunted down by the Doggos here in the back, bringing back the other Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. I knew I needed something to deal with these Grail Knights. As soon as I pull away, though, he re-engages the Grail Knights to screen his archers. Definitely, he's had some very, very good micro this game. Festus O going to be switching on the Harbinger of Pestilence. He's probably gotten good value, too. Let's go ahead and see what I would bet like 1,000 or something like that. 1,300, yeah, not bad. So he's going to be able to drain a lot of these units down, and now the Hounds are coming around the side, going to be attacking into this unit. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be GG well played. My opponent made one last gambit on the other side to go after the objective 3, but wasn't able to get it. It's a really good match. It was honestly pretty close. Very fun. And I'm so happy to be able to go and queue into Domination Ladder and get good quality games. I mean, not that there weren't good players playing before, but we had maps that were so freaking bad. Right, but now if we go into domination mode, we have like a whole good range of maps. Gates of Ekron, that map we just played, was one of the maps that was made for our map pack in tournaments, and now it's in the base game. So man, what a huge win. And there's really, honestly, Creative Assembly did take the feedback and removed all the bad maps. All the maps in Dom Quick Battle are playable now. They're good. It's certainly really cool to see. And let's review the army. So Shaggoths did great. I like that a lot. 26, 27. I was worried in the beginning they would kind of suck, because my opponent had like nothing that Shaggoths were good against in the opening army, but then he called in some Grail Knights and Hippos. I was like, all right, it's going to be fine. Chaos Warriors did okay. Severed Claw, you know, so-so. They kind of got wrecked a little bit. Festus's healing was huge. Chosen were Giga Chads, 2,500 here. Trolls held their own, getting 1,000 and 1,200 value. Overall, super fun game. Great play. Good build from my opponent, too. Not bad at all. It's classic kind of Felix or Ponce. I think if Gotrek was mixed in there, it would have been a hard time for me. I think he would have really wrecked my Shaggoths, or at least put pressure on them, and provided more AP to help against the Chosen too. But yeah, I don't know. He's expensive. You'd have to cut quite a bit. How would you even do that? I guess you could cut the Yeoman, but the Yeoman grabbing the objectives in the beginning is so good. I really like that. Yeah, it's a tricky one. It really is. And there is a caster in reserve we saw called in, the Life Caster, getting the fat regrowth. Grail Knights and Hippos both did really, really well, by the way. So yeah, good violent trading on both sides. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today. We'll see you next time, and well played to my opponent.